There's a place in hell called Malebolge, all stone and colored like iron. As is the cliff that surrounds it. Right in the center of the malignant space, a well yawns, and very wide and deep, whose structure I will speak of in due place. The belt that remains between the base of the high rocky bank and the well is circular. And its floors divided into 10 moats. Like the form of the ground reveals, where successive ditches circle as a castle to defend the walls. Such was the layout displayed here, and as there are bridges to the outer banks from the thresholds of the fortress, so from the base of the cliff causeways ran, crossing the successive banks and ditches, down to the well that terminates and links them. We found ourselves there, shaking from Gerion's back, and the poet kept to the left, and I went on behind him. On the right I saw new pain and torment, and new tormentors, with which the first chasm was filled. In its depths the sinners were naked. On our inner side, and of its central round, they came toward us. On the outer side, with us, but with larger steps. Thus the people of Rome in that year of the Jubilee, because of the great crowds, initiated this means to move the people over the bridge. Those on the one side all had their faces toward Castello St. Angelo, and went to St. Peter's. Those on the other side toward Monte Giordano. On this side and on that, along the fearful rock, I saw horned demons with large whips who struck them fiercely from behind, and how it made them quicken their steps at the first stroke. Truly none waited for the second or the third. And as I waited and went on, my eyes encountered one of them, and instantly I said, "This shade I have seen before." So I stopped to scrutinize him, and that kind guide stood still with me, and allowed me to tarry a little. And that scourged spirit thought to hide himself, lowering his face, but it did not help, since I said, "You who cast your eyes on the ground, if the features you display are not an illusion, you are Benedicio Casciamico." But what led you into such a biting pickle? And he to me, "I tell it unwillingly, but your clear speech, which makes me remember the former world, compels me. It was I who seduced the fair Gisola into doing the Marquis of Este's will, however unpleasant the story sounds. And I am not the only Bolognese that weeps here. There are so many of us here that fewer tongues are taught to say yes, Bolognese style, between the Savannah and the Reno. If you want assurance and testimony of it, recall to mind our avaricious hearts." And as he spoke, a demon struck him with his whip and said, "Away, you pimp, there are no women here to sell." I rejoined my guide, and within a few steps we came to where a causeway ran from the cliff. This we climbed very easily, and turning to the right on its jagged ridge, we moved away from that eternal round. When we reached the arch where it yawns below to leave a path for the scourged, my guide said, "Wait, and let the look of those ill-born spirits strike you, whose faces you have not yet seen since they have been going in our direction." We viewed their company from the ancient bridge, traveling towards us on the other side, chased likewise by the whip. Without my asking, the kind master said, "Look at that great soul who comes, and seems not to shed tears of pain. What a royal demeanor he still retains. That is Jason, who by wisdom and courage robbed the Colchians of the golden fleece." He sailed by the Isle of Lemnos after the bold, merciless women who had put all their males to death. There, with gifts and sweet words, he deceived the young simply. Who had saved her father from deceiving all the rest. He left her there, pregnant and alone. Such guilt condemns him to such torment. And revenge is also taken for his abandoning Medea. With him go all who practice such deceit, and let him be enough for whom knowledge is of the first chasm, and those whom it swallows. We had already come to the narrow causeway crossed by a second bank and forms the buttress of the second arch. Here we heard people whining in the next chasm and blowing them with their muzzles and striking themselves with their palms. The banks were crusted with the mold from the fumes below that condenses on them and attacks the eyes and nose. The floor is so deep that we cannot see any part of it except by the climbing to the ridge of the arch, where the rock is highest. We arrived there, and from it we saw people in the ditch below immersed in excrement, which looks as if it flowed from human privies. And while I was searching down there with my own eyes, I saw one with a head so smeared that it was not clear if he was clerk or a ladyman. He shouted at me, "Why are you so keen to gaze at me more than the other befouled ones?" And I to him, "Because if I remember rightly, I have seen you before with a dry head, and you are Alessio Intermini of Lucca, so I eye you more than all the others." And then he, beating his forehead, "The flatteries of which my tongue never wearied brought me down to this." At which my guide said to me, "Advance your head so little that your eyes can clearly see over there the face of that filthy and disheveled piece, who scratches herself with her soiled nails, and now crouching down, now rising to her feet. It is Thais, the whore, who answered her lover's message, in which he asked, 'Do you really return me great thanks?' with, 'No, wondrous thanks,' and let our looking be satisfied with this."